What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dirtyard Dish. This is Brendan Dudas, Commissioner of Circle City Wiffle Ball and acting host of the Dirtyard Dish podcast. We are back. We have returned for the first time in over 7 months. I know that's criminal in the podcast world, so we are working. We're going to try to get you some consistent content. We're going to put together a schedule. Rudy and I really want to include everybody and kind of give the details on that announcement. Let's do this.
I can't wait to get back on the road again. Back again. Dude, like for the baggers. Back home again. Back home again. In Indiana land.
So we are entering that final home stretch of the off season of the winter where, warm, sunny days kind of break through here and there. And by warm, I mean 45, 50 degrees. But those days are followed up by a 10-degree day that smacks you right in the face. So, it's a really brutal stretch of the winter, that back end of it, where we start getting into the months, March, April, and you're like, shouldn't it be warm by now? But in order to help you get through those months, we're going to try to kick up the content, try to give you more podcast episodes, more things to keep your mind off the cold and start looking forward to summer and wiffle ball and warm weather. So I just want to drop some league information, the little bits of league information that we have so far at this point in February. Opening day has been announced for May 17th. We are returning to the format of last year, despite the division and conference fiasco. We're going to bring that format back just for the round robin tournament at the beginning of the year. So that day is going to bring all 8 teams together for another pool versus pool tournament. We'll crown a champ of each division. And again, it's a cool way to start the season, a great way to bring everybody together and really create a cool environment at the Dirt Yard. Like I just mentioned, we've got 8 teams returning. The defending champs, the 8 balls are coming back, the Yackers, the short shorts, the revamped moonshots, I will talk about in a little bit. The Noodlers and Cody House are coming back. Crazy Fat Kids will return, the Pork Pistols will return, and our new team, the Outlaws, will round out that group of 8. We've got our league meeting coming up soon, so really the only information right now that I can give you is our opening day, May 17th. We've got 8 teams, and we will be having that round-robin tournament. But we do have some big news in terms of player movement and team alignment. The biggest of that news coming yesterday when the Mid-City Moonshots and Blake Vorst announced that they had signed Reed Werner and Will Smithy from the Hounds. Both of these guys are former Rookie of the Years. Huge move, but it led to some dominoes that had to fall in order for this move to happen. The Hounds folded, so Reed and Will, they leave behind a solid franchise, one that was really never in the championship contender discussion, and they joined the Moonshots. So that franchise folds. And then in order to make room for Reed and Will, Blake Vorst had to make some tough roster decisions. Parts way with perennial all-star and, one of his best friends, Keegan Coy, which, might have caused some sour feelings, but I think Keegan's going to land on his feet in a good situation. And as a leading expert in that field, I can tell you he's probably going to end up back with the short shorts for 2020. Pitcher and part-time player from last year, Holden Palmer, is now without a team. He has made some comments that he is going, he's changed his job. He's going to be more available this summer. So if that's the case, I think whoever he lands with is going to be getting a very solid, maybe back end number 1, but, a very good number 2 starter if that's the case for a team. And then with the Hounds folding, that kind of leaves James Hayworth, who is a very solid rookie, lefty thrower, lefty hitter, who's going to bring a lot of production to whatever team he ends up with. Rumors have it the Noodlers are looking strongly at him, and that would be a great fit for Cody House. And then the rest of the Hounds, what happens to Bailey Busher, what happens to the fringe guys that, had spoken about maybe joining the league. So we'll see there. I'm sure more will develop on that front. So the addition of Reed Werner and Will Smithy to the Moonshots kind of catapults them into title contention status. Blake Vorst made it well known that he was looking for pitching, he was looking for some athleticism and some bats, and Reed and Will are sort of the epitome of all those skill sets. So I think Blake did a really good job of filling all of his team's weaknesses with this trade, although it came at the expense of having to get rid of a guy like Keegan and a guy like Holden. And while that caused the Hounds to fold, if we can take 2 solid teams and build a title contender out of it and add one more team into the fold in terms of winning championships, then I am a fan of that. So from a outsider and the commissioner of the league's perspective, I'm very on board with this, and I love the move. But as an opposing player, I obviously hate it because it made their team that much better. On paper, at least right now, they don't have any weaknesses, and they filled all of the holes from 2019. So great move from Blake. Outside of the Mid-City Moonshots, Danny Miller is stepping away from wiffle ball. He will not be the coach of the Fat Kids this summer, and that leaves a space for Eric Stark to step in. Right now, their roster is Eric Stark and Spencer Schreiner. So that's a solid two-man start, but I think their goal really needs to be they need to find another solid pitcher and then another bat. They cannot continue to fill their roster out with 6, 7, 8 maybe committed guys. It's just not a recipe that leads to success. But I think Stark's going to do a really good job with that team. And then Aaron Rodgers, rookie last year, solid pitcher, showed some flashes. He is stepping away from the Crazy Fat Kids and announced that he will be beginning his own team. Right now, it looks like they're going to be the Outlaws. So we'll see on that. A logo and some team colors and some jerseys will probably be released in the future. But outside of him, his roster is really unknown. He's going to have to dig pretty deep in the free agent pool and try to put together a competitive roster. The only other roster that's really in flux outside of those is the Noodlers, which is, that's something Cody House is all too used to. Each season, it seems like he's trying to pull together solid pieces from here and there to try to make a run. And he's done a really good job at it. I don't think Cody House gets enough credit for the job he does each summer to pull together a solid roster. It's currently him and Jordan Tackett and maybe Sawyer Mitchell. So, like I said, James Hayworth would be a really good fit there. We might see Michael Plord, who's a free agent. That might be a great fit. And then there's some other free agents stepping in that I think could be solid players. And then outside of the free agent list, I think Cody House has got to dig deep and look at rosters and that maybe have too many players and try to see if he can get some of those solid players from an existing roster. But I depend on Cody House to put together a really good roster for 2020, and I think the Noodlers in the end will be competitive. And as always, when you've got guys like Cody House or Jordan Tackett or Sawyer Mitchell on your team, you're going to be competitive in just about every game. That's all I've got for player movement at the moment. It's only February. Got a couple months before the season starts up, before things really start being finalized. So I expect there to be more news and more developments there in terms of player movement and roster finalization. Now, for the fun announcement I had for you guys, which has already been announced on Twitter, but I promised you guys a podcast coming soon to kind of explain details. In 2020, Circle City Wiffle Ball will host Fantasy Wiffle Ball. So we're combining two of my favorite things, two of my passions, fantasy sports and wiffle ball, and we are bringing you Circle City Fantasy Wiffle Ball. And this is how it's going to work. Each player, based on last year's stats, will have a dollar value attached to their name, okay? You're going to be given a budget. Let's say it's $15, and you've got to build a roster of 5 players from that $15, okay? So guys like Mike Speak Jr. and Rudy Lyon are going to have very high relative values given their two-way production. There will be a link to a form and a Google Drive folder. That folder will have player information. It will have last year's stats. It'll have all the relevant information you need to compile your roster, to do your research, and to finally submit your roster to us. Those 5 players have to stay under that $15 budget. But once you've selected your roster, your work is done. That's the best part about a best ball style format in fantasy sports. There's no roster management, no trades, no free agency, no setting lineups. Week to week, your roster's set, and we take the best 3 scores from your roster. So the top hitter, the top pitcher, and your Superman will all be counted in your scores. That gives you a little leeway. Say one of your hitters doesn't play that week, or he gets hurt, or he goes on vacation. You've got a little wiggle room, okay? So your best 3 players from your 5-man roster are what get counted. So we'll make that link available, and when that becomes available, you'll go into the Google Drive folder, you'll do your research on the players, look at last year's stats, and build your best 5-man roster, okay? And each week, your top 3 scores from that roster are going to be your fantasy score. It'll go on a week-by-week basis, but we won't have week-by-week winners. It'll be a cumulative contest, and at the end of the regular season, the top 3 contestants will receive a prize, and we've got some really cool stuff. But we floated the idea of MLB tickets. We've got some cool Circle City Wiffle Ball hats. So why are we doing this? It was my thought when I sat down, we've got to continue to do everything we can to get outsiders to learn more about our league, deeper than just Brendan Dudas, Rudy Lyon, Mike Speak Jr. They've got to, we've got to get some name recognition out there. We've got to get fans and players and outsiders all involved in the league from top to bottom. And if we can accomplish that, then that's going to be the key to allowing our league to grow. I think it's going to be a fun way to sort of incorporate the trends of the modern sports era with fantasy sports and with betting. And obviously we can't set lines and allow you to bet and pay out money in that way. We aren't a sports book, but I think this cool fantasy sports option is a way to get people involved and a way to get people to care about Circle City Wiffle Ball a little more. So like I said, when that link comes available, you're going to click the link, you're going to go in there. Your rosters are not due until May 10th, 1 week before opening day. And then after you've submitted that roster, it is locked. And you don't make any changes. You don't trade players, you don't pick up free agents, you don't set a lineup. It is simply the top hitter, the top pitcher, and your Superman will be counted as your weekly score. And again, at the end of the regular season, the top 3 scorers, the top guy will receive the best prize, and then second and third place will also receive a minor prize. Again, we're really excited for it, so if you have any questions regarding the format or how it's going to work, or you just want to you want to figure out how to get involved, don't be afraid to reach out to us, message us on Twitter, text me, call me, and we'd love to find a way to get you involved. Thank you for listening today. I'm really excited about the new things coming to Circle City Wiffle Ball. Some of those things will be uncovered as we finalize our rules, like I said. But again, opening day, May 17th, 8 teams are returning to Circle City Wiffle Ball in 2020, and Fantasy Wiffle Ball will make its debut for Circle City. Again, Rudy and I are going to work hard to come out with a schedule and really produce some consistent content to engage our listeners and our league members and the outsiders alike. So if you have a suggestion, or you want to appear on the podcast, or you have something that you'd like to hear discussed or argued on here, reach out, let us know. You can comment, you can tweet at us, whatever your method, just let us know. We accept, we'd love to hear your opinions. We want to make sure we are including as many people in this as possible and making this a representative voice of Circle City Wiffle Ball. If you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and now you can follow us on TikTok. We've got some fun video content on there. And again, our goal in 2020 is just to bring more content to you, to bring better content to you, and to provide everybody with a better look into Circle City Wiffle Ball. Thank you all for listening. Have a great weekend.
I can't wait to get back on the road again. Back again. Dude, like for the baggers. Back home again. In Indiana land.